Welcome back, everyone, to the Mindset Medicine Podcast. I'm Katharine Loucaidou. I am your host, and today's going to be a really great episode because I just realized today is the third anniversary of the Mindset Medicine Podcast, and I've got my phone in my hand because I've got the Apple Podcast list here in front of me. And I woke up this morning and I saw in my Facebook memories, which I really love looking back. And I think that may even be one of the great reasons to post every day, because every day will be a moment in time that you can capture. How often do we actually do that now? When we were kids, we had the Kodak photographs and we would only take them on special occasions. But here's the thing. Do we actually need to wait for special occasions to take a quick selfie? Take a picture of something that's going on in your day every single day so that year after year, it will come up in your memories and you can stop and not only reminisce about what's happened, what happened a year ago, what happened 2 years ago, but I think it's really important that you can actually stop and say to yourself, how much has changed? How much have I grown since that last memory? Go back in your mind and think to yourself where you were at that point in time and where you are now. Because really, that is where growth begins, is once we actually take account of what's happened. So that's what I realized this morning was 3 years ago today. And do all of you know where we were? April 20th, April 21st, 2020, right? We were about 3 weeks into the pandemic and people didn't really understand what was happening, what's going on, what on earth is there wasn't a lot of information. Oh, wow. Just to think back what life was like in 2020. And so I decided April 20th in 2020 to try something new. I had heard of podcasts, I had listened to them, but not like I do now. And I thought to myself, I think it's time to try something new. I'm home. And those of you who have gotten to know me very well know that I just don't sit still. I need to be creating. I need to be evolving and growing. So I decided it was time to create a podcast and the title. So that's what I thought we would do today. I'm here in my relaxed favorite chair. And if you are listening to this, it is one of those big egg chairs. And I've got some cream cushions behind me. If you are watching this is my favorite chair to sit in. And I don't bring anything with me usually when I sit here. Sometimes I'll just sit back and I just think. And I may be thinking about, okay, what's the strategy for the next thing that I'm doing? Or maybe I'm thinking through a situation that's come in real estate. One thing I don't do, and I haven't done probably for the last 10 years, is I avoid jumping the gun. I avoid reacting to things immediately. Now, yes, sometimes we do have immediate reactions. We're human beings. But when I talk about reacting, so, an email comes in and it doesn't look very good, or there's a problem that's emerged, especially when I owned my brokerage, that would happen quite often. What I've learned is you cannot react. You have to pause so that you can respond logically, respond with a clear head. And that way you don't regret your responses. You have time to think about them. So that is what this wonderful egg chair does for me. I just think, and I'm either thinking about, okay, where do I want to go? What does that road look like now in my future? I would analyze where I am now. Is where I am now leading me to that future that I'm trying to create? And we go from there. I have a whiteboard over on the right side of me, and I will write ideas and I will make it flow. And this might be something that will help you in your business or your life when you're planning on where you want to go. Actually map it out. We call this a mind map. When I was teaching, a mind map is you start with the topic, where do I want to go? What is it that I want to create? Start with the end in mind and then work backwards. Okay, so what's needed for that? And when I coach agents, I do the very same thing. If you have a certain financial goal at the end of the year, or anyone in business for that matter, if you have a financial goal for the end of the year, what we need to do is we need to work backwards, right? Reverse engineer. Well, if that's the goal, then let's back it up. What are the activities, the tasks, the actions that are required to take you there? But this is what it is. It's reverse engineering this plan of yours, which will in fact get you to where you want to go. So back to the anniversary of this podcast. The name of the first podcast that I ever created was Trying New Things. And I want to show you how phenomenal the universe is, okay? So, April 21st, 2020, Trying New Things is the name of the podcast that I put out there. Before reading that this morning, let me tell you what came across my feed today. And I actually screenshot it and sent it to my husband. There is, as of 12:12 a.m. Canadian time, there was an eclipse in the new moon. Now, I don't follow a lot of astrology. Funny enough, my son being studying to be an astrophysicist, I don't actually follow a lot of the stars and so on. But it does intrigue me because I do think that women in particular, our hormones, I think our monthly cycles do revolve around the moon phases. And I never used to think that until I started losing sleep every time there was a shift going on with the moon, with an eclipse. And then I thought, this is not a coincidence every time this happens. So, understanding that there was this eclipse of a new moon this morning, I knew that my sleep has been interrupted for the last couple of nights. So, something's going on. And I actually looked it up this morning and look what I read. So, my horoscope is Cancer, and it says, Cancer, you're making a name for yourself, but first you need to be willing to try something new and make sacrifices for the sake of success. And it goes on and on and on. You might be gearing up to accept a promotion or a career path. Either way, it's time to accept responsibilities that are being offered to you through opportunities because you are ready for them. So what's behind all this is for the last 6 months, that part of me where I have that need to evolve and grow has been working in my mind. It's, I've been thinking about what is it that I am planning on creating? What does that look like? How can I make the biggest impact, especially in women's lives? And what does that look like? So that's what I've been doing. I have been thinking about and working on what I'm going to be creating. And I am giving myself in the next 60 days, I will be launching something. And I think it's going to be very exciting. I think it's going to be changing women's lives, people in business, real estate agents. And I'm super excited. So funny enough, right, that would come out today. So this is one thing I would love to pause at right now for you. When you become more present, when you start to listen to your heart, your intuition, it will begin to lead you places, but only if you trust it. If you don't trust it, you will question it. And when you question it, that's where the self-doubt comes in. Now, you'll notice I don't have any notes today because I just want to talk to you. That's what I want to do today. I just want us to sit down like we're having a coffee together and just talk about what's gone on in your life. And I would say, go back to, like I did today, go back to 2020. What's happened? I think a lot of people's lives have changed drastically from when we were in lockdown. I think that our minds have shifted in understanding, what do I really want out of this life? What is truly important? Where do I want to focus my energy? Where do I want to focus my time? And with whom do I want to spend my time and energy? I think that's really important as well, because are the people you are spending your time with, and we're going to say that you are also investing your time because time is limited. And I think that when you decide that you are going to spend a certain period of your time with people, make sure that those people are helping you grow. Are those people giving you joy? Are those people moving you forward in business? Are they moving you forward in life? Time is so precious because we don't know when it's going to run out. We don't know when it's going to end for us. So really decide that you are going to spend it in the best way possible for you. So I start my podcast, right? And I talk about trying new things. And then every week thereafter, I would talk about topics that I felt would make an impact on my listeners. You are my listener. If you go back to 2020, that is still me. And I likely have very many of the same principles, but I believe I have grown. And I have grown to take better care of myself. And I've always taken good care health wise, but I've taken it up a notch. My exercise routine is now an hour in the morning. It never used to be an hour. My exercise routine includes weights every day. I used to be scared of weights because of the heart surgery that I had. I still have to be very careful of the amount of weight that I hold. I have been given a limit by my doctors, but that's fine. You know, I used to say to myself, well, what am I going to do with 10 pounds, right? Like, am I going to actually put on weight? You absolutely can, because it's about consistency. It's about creating a routine. And when you do, you know, it's like we say that when you are consistent every day in your business, you are building up your muscle, your mental muscle. You are building up your persistence. You are building up your habit. You are forming habits for yourself in your business. Working out in the gym is no different. If you need to work a muscle, it doesn't matter if it's 10-pound weight, the muscle will grow with consistency and repetition. So after I completed my first podcast, I was scared. If you go back to my first one, oh my gosh, I think I even talk about not really knowing what it was, but I still felt that there was a message that could be sent out to people. So just scrolling through some of the episodes that I've had, which I think are definitely worth going back to, are, and funny enough, I mean, I still will talk about this today. People will love you, people will hate you. That's an episode from May 1st. The seasons of life. We have a winter season. We have a summer season where everything is wonderful and it's bright and it's cheery. Our winter seasons, many people have gone through a winter season over the last, really, I mean, there were winter seasons during the pandemic. And then we had, of course, 2021, 2022, where the real estate market was just off the walls. So everyone did very well, or most people. Then we get to 2023, where the year starts out a little tougher. And we have the change in mortgage rates. We have the change in people's mentality toward, you know, do I sell? Do I buy? Do I even want to do anything right now? A lot of fear in people. And I believe that we are still left with remnants of fear from the pandemic. I still believe that people are not quite what they were like before 2020. I think there was a shift. And for some people, I think that shift was needed and it helped. And I think for others, it really created more of a struggle in their lives. Maybe just questioning, do I want to live here? Do I want to live with who I'm living with? Do I like the way I'm doing things? Do I like my job? Do I want to be commuting to my job? So many people ended up moving out of the city into the countryside because now life looks a little different once you have been shaken up. So that was interesting. One of the other topics at the end of May in 2020, the fear of opportunities. Do you know that you have likely grown up with a limitation that you've put on yourself. And that's what we call self-limiting beliefs. And you imposed that on yourself. No one else did. Maybe people told you, well, you're really never going to be this, or I don't really see how you are ever going to evolve to that. But it's really up to you to change that narrative. And something that I have been thinking about, and I've been coaching about, and I have been speaking about to people is the fact that your perspective is really your experiences up until today. Whatever you have experienced in your lifetime up until today is what creates your perspective. So here's the thing. What if your experiences have not been on a large scale? What if you have led maybe a more narrow life where you are still living in the city that you grew up in or the town you grew up in? Maybe you haven't traveled extensively. Maybe you haven't read very much. So therefore your mind hasn't expanded in that way. Maybe you have an advanced education. Maybe you don't. But all of these things lend to your perspective and your ideas of what you think about the world, what you think about people in the world. So where am I getting at? Because you have your story of what goes on around you, we can fall into the trap of thinking that that's all you can do. That's my limit. I can't go past it. I don't think, maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe I don't know enough people. Well, I don't really have a personality like that person, or I don't really have the influence that that person has. I'm not really like them. If you have decided that you already are not or don't have, you have imposed limiting beliefs on yourself. And how far will you go to explore, to be curious, if you always go around living in a box that you created for yourself? I would like you to think about this in terms of your life. Think about your relationships. Do you have walls up in your relationships so that you don't get hurt? Do you have walls up to prevent possibly getting hurt in the future? Because that can happen as well. I'm just going to protect myself. I'm not going to go there. Have you created ceilings for yourself in business? Maybe it's because you just don't know how to get bigger, grow bigger, expand, how to scale your business. When you don't have that knowledge, you may think that you just can't do it. And you absolutely can. You just need to find someone, a coach, a mentor, who can lead you to that next step in your life. That's really all this is. Find someone who's done what you want to do, hire them, and let them guide you so that you move past that level that you've been stuck at and you can move to the next level. Because I'll tell you what happens when you move to the next level of your life, when you level up. And I know that we hear this sometimes in conferences, level up, and it's all done in a very cool way. I truly mean, if you want to elevate yourself in this lifetime, you need to find someone who can bring you up to that next level with the work that you are willing to do. And that goes back to that horoscope I read. Are you willing to make the sacrifices that are required to move you to that next level in life? And it's not about tangible, shallow assets of purses and shoes. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about for you as a person, because what happens when you move to the next level? Here's what happens. You just gained an incredible amount of confidence in your ability to grow and evolve further than you had told yourself you could. And your confidence level rises, your energy levels rise, and your passion, this little flame that you had inside of you, it gets ignited and it starts to grow very, very big. And I speak from experience. That is why I have always been in motion from the moment I left Canada and moved to Europe. I have been in motion, and I've done it because of the feeling. That feeling where, oh gosh, I don't know if I could be a teacher. That's what I said to myself. I was crying on the flight from Canada to Cyprus, my very first time when I was moving there, because I thought to myself, Katharine, are you crazy? What on earth are you doing? You don't know how to teach people. You just accepted a job teaching English and French at a school you've never been to, and you don't even speak Greek in the country you're going to be living in. Yet I got on a plane, packed up my bedroom, because at 22 years old, that's all I owned was the stuff in my bedroom, $700, and I moved to Europe. But here's what I learned. By Christmas of that year, the lady who owned the school saw me with a group of kids around me. I was having a little story time. I loved to be outside the classroom. So I've got all these kids and I sat them outside in a circle and I was reading a story to them and they were all engaged and listening. And she came over and she said, wow. She said, you are literally a natural at this. Did anyone teach you how to do this? And I said, no, I'm just reading a story. She's like, no, not everyone can engage kids like that. And that was the first time I realized I had just succeeded in this big thing I didn't know how to do, teaching. So I could have stayed there and not moved along further. But I decided that I was going to test myself. I was going to move out my comfort zone and move to the high school level. That had been primary. I'd never taught high school, ever. But I thought I would try. Why not? So that's what I did. And then my first evaluation came back. And they said, wow, you are doing an excellent job teaching these kids. They really relate to you. Another ceiling I had burst. Every time you do that, not only have you gained skills that you did not have before, but you are changing the story that you have created in your mind that maybe I can't do this, because you've just proven to yourself, I absolutely can do this. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. In some of the past episodes that I've had, giving yourself, June 27th, 2020, giving yourself something to look forward to every day. How important was that when we were in the pandemic? You know, couldn't leave our house. How do you create a schedule for yourself? How do you create routine when everything is locked down and you're in your home? Well, I ask you, look back. Look back to what you were doing on those days. Were there days that were more interesting than others? And why was that? Likely it was because you gave yourself a task. You gave yourself an activity. Maybe you woke up and said, you know what? I'm going to bake a cake. I'm going to make some bread. I'm going to go for a walk outside. I'm going to try something different. One question, when I owned my brokerage, I had an agent who was struggling, and she wasn't struggling in business. She was struggling with herself. And I asked her, I said, what do you think the problem is? Where do you feel like there is a gap in your life or something? And she said, I don't know what makes me happy. And now, isn't that an interesting phrase? And it's not the first time that I've heard that. And it's not the first time I've asked someone, what makes you happy? People know what makes them unhappy, but do you know what makes you happy? And it's a question that you should be asking yourself, because when you answer it, if you just did more of that every day, you would lead a happier life. And a hint is that it doesn't come from things and it doesn't come from people. Your happiness comes from what you create for yourself, and it will come from the inside out. A mistake that a lot of people make is they believe that it is the outside world, it is external factors that in fact create your happiness. and it's not. It is your feeling toward things. It's not our actual children that make us happy. It's how we feel about our children. It's our emotions toward them. It is not your spouse who makes you happy. It is your feeling and your emotions toward that human being that make you happy. It's the memories that you've created together that make you happy. So think about that for a little bit. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. And here is another one. I had a really great conversation was with a friend of mine who also changed her business, and she went from being the manager of a brokerage to becoming an agent again. And business transformation. So many people think that it will take, a year to transform your business. It does not at all. You can transform your business in less than 60 days if you have someone guiding you, if you have someone mentoring you, and you have a plan or a blueprint of how to do that. I will come back to what I've said in many, many episodes, and that there is a reason why we get to where we need to go so quickly today. And it's because we have a GPS guiding us down that route of where we need to go. It tells us when we're going to get there, and it's pretty spot on. Maybe off by a minute if we were speeding, but generally speaking, that GPS, if we tell someone GPS says I'll be there at 2:02, you're likely going to be there at 2:02. What we don't realize is our businesses function the exact same way, and that the GPS is in fact your coach or your mentor or a guide or a program that you are following. And if you just followed it, you would transform that area that you want to transform. It would be transformed within 60 days. How do I know? Because I have done it, and I have helped other agents transform their businesses in 60 days. What do you need to be able to do that? You need to make sacrifices. It means that you're going to go all in. You are going to try things that you haven't tried before, or maybe you just need to try them in the order that you've been taught. Sometimes the problems in our business and why our businesses and even our lives or our exercise or our health, the reason they don't transform as quickly as we want them to is because we decide that we're going to make tweaks. We decide that, well, I don't really know that that's correct. So I'm just going to make this little tweak here and this little tweak there. And that is what throws everything off. I have been teaching and coaching and mentoring and speaking for over 20 years now, 20 years. And what I have learned is that when someone is guiding me, I have two choices. I can either listen to them wholeheartedly and just do what they tell me to do because they've done it and it works, or I can try and make it my own and I can put my own spin on it, but I will not get the results that they have gotten. So this is a life lesson. If someone is guiding you and they are at a place where you want to be, listen to what they say and just follow it, because that is how you will transform your business. So this wonderful woman and friend of mine, that's what she did. She said, I'm open. Tell me, what do I need to do to transform my business? And we started from scratch. We started with target audience. We then worked on branding. What does that look like? What message do you want to put out to the world? What are your values and principles in business? How do you want people to feel once they've done business with you? That is actually a hugely important question. How do you want people to feel after they have engaged with you, after they've done business with you? Do you want them to feel happy? Do you want them to feel secure? Do you want them to feel as though you are a friend or a professional? Everything has a result and a consequence. But once you learn how to decipher all of these things and you keep working down. So from branding, we work to marketing. Then we talk about skills. Then we talk about what are the lead pillars? What are those pillars of business? Where do you want your business to come from? And who do you want to work with? Who is your ideal customer? All of these things are what lead to the transformation of a business. They also lead to the creation of a business. I myself am going through this right now because, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I am going to be doing something new. And I'm going to be creating something that hasn't been created before. So I am going through this very same process again. But here's what I know. We listen to the people who have been there, done it, because they know. They've created the blueprint from what actions they've taken that have worked for themselves. So I do hope that you do the very same thing for your business. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go to the last few really good episodes that have helped, even me talking about them. And I think that we will end at these points today. Who are you 1 year from today? And that is January 23rd, 2021. So if you want to go back and find that episode, who are you 1 year from today? And this was my description of this podcast. Is your behavior today consistent with the person that you want to be 1 year from today? Are the actions that you are taking today consistent with where you want to be 1 year from today? This is actually a very, very poignant question because everything you decide, every decision that you make today, every interaction that you have, everything you watch, everything you listen to, everything you eat, everything you do will affect who you are and where you are 1 year from today. So who do you want to be 1 year from today? What does that look like to you? Can you say to yourself, I want to be the version of myself who, and then what does that look like? Is it losing weight? Is it just making your body healthier and stronger? Is it making your mind healthier and stronger? And what does it mean to create a stronger mind? Maybe it means that you are going to have less self-doubt. Maybe it means you're going to have more confidence in your decisions, in your choices. Maybe it just means that you are going to feel confident in your own body. You're not going to wake up and worry about what you look like, how you sound. You're just going to say, this is me. Take me as I am. Love me as I am. Who would you like to be a year from today? And how would you like to feel 1 year from today? Do you want to feel joy? Do you want to feel pride in what you accomplished? Do you want to feel loved? If so, what do you have to do starting today to lead you toward that person you wish to be 1 year from today? I'm going to leave you with that challenge. I'm going to leave you with those thoughts because if you can spend the next few days thinking about that and slowly changing the behavior that you create on a daily basis, how are you cultivating your mind today to become that person that you want to be a year from today? I hope you're starting with this podcast, and I hope that I have given you some nuggets to think about on this wonderful anniversary of the Mindset Medicine podcast. I hope you will follow along with me as I create this wonderful new, I'm going to call it thing that I'm creating. I'm super excited. It's changing lives and helping people understand that life is short. You have so much potential. That, I believe, is why I'm here. So follow along with me. Find me on social media. Any of the platforms, I am there. I would love to hear from you. leave me a review, leave me a comment, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.